Good morning, Nigeria, and I make you welcome. This is Enterprise Morning, reaching you from Enterprise Television from our corporate headquarters in Lagos State, Nigeria. I am Henry Igwebike, and let's kickstart today. A very interesting day it is. A day to be happy that we are truly alive. Welcome to the show. We'll start with our newspapers, and right after that will be our main conversation. Also for today, do well to be part of what we do. Have a say in what we say. You can find us, reach us when you visit us at enterprisetvnews.com. You may equally like, comment, and follow us on all our social media platforms at Enterprise TV7. I'm very so honored to have with me, joining me via Zoom from Lagos State, Nigeria. I'd love to believe it's Mr. Eko John Nicholas. He is the National Coordinator, Food and Farmers' Right Campaigns, which is called the FFRC, and equally a Coordinator Campaign for Democratic and Workers' Right, Ogun State Chapter, NEC member, Democratic Socialist Movement, DSM. Thank you so very much, Mr. Nicholas, for being here.
Good morning, Mr. Henry.
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes, clearly.
All right. Thank you so very much for your time. We truly do appreciate you.
It's my pleasure, sir.
All right. Beautiful. Now, let's kickstart today with the first newspapers on our desk. And this coming from the Daily Trust newspaper. Very interesting stories here, even if most of them really are not good enough, actually. We have dozens of school girls abducted in Kebbi. And equally on the top strip, we have federal government inches towards inflation target. Taraba Speaker 15 PDP lawmakers defect to the APC and make justice affordable, accessible to the poor. Tinubu tells judges. Gunmen kill brigade commander in Borno. And we have other growing interest. 2 children die as fire guts building in rivers, while Cameroon opposition candidate declares self president-elect. Mr. Nicholas, I'd love us to start with the very sad situation we have somewhere in Kebbi State. Dozens of schoolgirls abducted in Kebbi. Is this another version of Bring Back Our Girls Season 2? Or what exactly is happening here? Speak to me.
Yes, I think that the Kebbi State incident is a very tragic one. And of course, it happened in Maga, in a local government called Dangu local government, where about 25 school girls have just been adopted, and the vice principal killed in the operation. I think it's a very sad one. And our heart go out to the family of the principal that was killed. I think it has again, highlights the issue of insecurity in Nigeria. Of course, in the couple of days now, weeks, we've been debating the Trump threat from America on the basis of the insecurity in Nigeria. And one would have expected that the federal government would have done the needful. But sadly enough, they have not done anything about it. And what we hear from the federal government is to continue to issue press statements, plaintively complaining and condoling with the families of those that have been adopted, those that have been killed, and things like that. I think that enough is enough. We cannot continue this way. And of course, it's not unexpected with the kind of system we are running and with the kind of corruption within the system. You can't expect anything less. And that is the situation we find ourselves. And we want to say it here clearly, that the federal government and the Kebbi State government owe it to Nigerians to ensure that those girls are, reunited, they are rescued and they are reunited with their family. It's not just the girls alone. In the last 4 days now, over 145 people have been adopted in Kebbi State, in Niger State, and in Zamfara State. And that is alarming. And the trend has continued. I think that we cannot, as I said, we can't continue this way. Something has to give. And it's time the mass of Nigerian people begin to mobilize and organize themselves, consciously, to begin to demand that enough of this insecurity in the country. And as socialists and as Marxists, we are advocating that there is a need for a non-sectarian, a multi-ethnic defense committee that is democratically managed within community, and if need be, for them to be armed to begin to defend themselves against banditry, against kidnapping, and against insurgency from all these Islamic, terrorists and things like that. And that is what we are advocating. It has to stop. And the Nigerian masses have to begin to demand that. And people should begin to form that kind of a multi-ethnic and non-sectarian and non-religious defense committee in their various community to begin to ward off all these terrorists, bandits, and insurgents.
It's very well said. It's actually very so alarming. And a couple of days back, we learned that a brigadier general was abducted in Borno and killed also. And while all of this happened, I do not know what the federal government is doing about this. And remember, the country of particular concern is still rested on us as a country in Nigeria. That's actually very sad. But Mr. Nicholas, I'd love us to take to other matters of interest. This is your area of forte, and it's coming from the Guardian newspaper this morning. Declining food prices. Farmer Naira pull inflation to 15% national target. And we have it that even if it is stated that food inflation is actually coming down a bit, but Nigerians cannot feel it. So I'd love you to talk to me. This is your area of forte. You understand this better than any other person. What do you think is happening exactly? Talk to us.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. The point is this. Beyond the official statistics that is being bandied around, that inflation, food inflation is reducing, the concrete reality is that the mass of the Nigerian workers and poor people are not feeling it. They go to bed on empty stomach. And why is that so? It's simply because the government has failed to invest in agriculture massively with a view of guaranteeing food security and eliminating hunger in Nigeria. It will interest you to know that as we speak presently, there is starvation everywhere. There is hunger. So when government tells you that food inflation is reducing, it's sheer data. The reality, as I said, is that people can't feed. And it cannot be otherwise. The anti-poor policy, the poor capitalist policies of this government has ensured that food has been taken away from the table of the mass of Nigerian people. That is why we insist that the removal of fuel subsidy has to be reversed. And the Naira devaluation must also be reversed. And all the tariff, including electricity that has been increased, must be brought down. And that is because when all these things are not done, there will be no food on the table. I'm a farmer, a practicing farmer at that, not a political farmer. As we speak presently, why they are saying that the food price has gone down, let's even say for the purpose of argument that it's true that food prices have gone down, which is not. The point is that with the present level of poor income at the disposal of the mass of the poor people, they can still buy this food item. Staple food, a bag of rice is still over 70,000 naira. And that is over the minimum, the national minimum wage. School fees is still on the rise. House rent is on the rise. Transportation is on the rise. All this brought together has meant that the cost of living crisis continue to worsen in the country. And that is why we are demanding that there is a need to do away with all the anti-poor policies of this government and the previous one that has been, implemented by all the past government. And there must be massive investment in agriculture. When I mean massive investment in agriculture, I mean that there is a need to revamp all the abandoned farm settlements. And there is need to build more farm settlement, establish more farm settlement, and employ people to begin to produce food for people to eat. The reason why this food crisis will continue is this, sir. Agriculture is not just a science. Agriculture is not just about profit. It's not just about economy. Agriculture is social. And food security is at the heart of agriculture. And that is why you see that serious-minded country, they prioritize investment in agriculture with a view to guaranteeing food security and putting food on the table of their citizenry. But in Nigeria, the opposite is the case. Because why? Agriculture is presently run on the basis of profit as against the needs of the mass majority of the people. And when you run agriculture for profit as business, and you don't run it as a social sector, this anomaly we are witnessing here now in Nigeria as of today is the necessary consequences of that failure. And that is why there is need, as I said, there must be massive investment in agriculture. Government need to invest massively, both federal, state, and local government. Is it not a paradox that Nigeria, with fertile millions of arable hectares of land, is still unable to feed itself? There is no part of Nigeria you are going to plant today that the seed will not germinate. And yet, we import stable food from other countries that are not as naturally endowed agriculture-wise like Nigeria. And that is why we are advocating as socialists that to guarantee food security on permanent basis, there is a need for political alternative. The present system we run that is dominated by all these money-backed parties that are meant to guarantee the profit of a few cannot guarantee food for the mass of the people. Therefore, workers, farmers, artisans, market women, they need to have their party on the basis of socialist program that will meet the needs of the people, both food, education, etc., as against the profit motivation of the present capitalist system we run today.
Within the corridor of power would be listening now, because when you ask them, they will differ on lots of things. They will bring statistics and data to prove that the economy is doing well. But I would love to still ask you, what are those salient policies that you think the government can put in place? Is it to open up our borders so that we can have influx of food into the country to feed over 200 million people, or to make it possible for farmers to go back to the farm? Remember, the president just launched about 2,000 tractors for farmers, and till today none of those tractors have gotten to the farmers. So is this a deliberate action of Tinubu-led administration to go on a particular agenda that Nigerians do not know about, or is it carelessness and mistakes that he needs to correct?
Yes, it's not just about carelessness. It's not just about sensitivity. It's systemic. As I have said, it is the capitalist system that is run, that is responsible for all this breakdown we are having. food insecurity, insecurity of life and property. I mean, name them. It is that system that gave rise to it. You have just mentioned the 2000 Belarusian tractor that were brought in. Up till now, those tractors have not been given, to farmers. And it's over 3 or 4 months now, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, very well.
That they launch all those tractors with fanfare. Yet, those tractors they are not in the farm. The plows are not in the farm. What is responsible? And that is because, as I said, they see agriculture as business, not as social service. Those tractors now, before you know, they will end up in the hands of political farmers, armchair farmers. It will not get to the male farmers, the ordinary farmers that need those tractors. They will share it among themselves. They will put it in their various compounds. And those of them that will be sincere enough, they will begin to rent it out to farmers at exorbitant prices that poor farmers like myself cannot afford to rent. Yes, insecurity is a contributor to the food crisis we are having presently. But that in itself is also a corollary of the government failure, of the implementation of anti-poor policies of the government, the exploitation of the capitalist government over the years. You just ask, should we open the border? Yes, in a way. Of course, we have seen government involving in protectionism, in a protectionist policy of some trying to close border with a view of trying to encourage local production and things like that. But the point is this: in Nigeria presently, as of today, what we are producing is not enough to feed the teeming population that are hungry. Another basis, we have to open the border side by side with massive investment in agriculture, and also tackling insecurity in the north and also within the southern part of the country. As you are aware, Benue State, that is popularly referred to as the food basket of the nation, has witnessed carnage of recent, where people are being sacked from their ancestral land, they are being sacked from their farm, then farmers had their clashes, and all these things as a result of, as I have said, of exploitation by this system. The farmers had their clashes. What is responsible? It is happening because the lecture, the source of water, source of fodder are no longer available. They are shrinking. Land that were pasture land, that animal could graze on openly in the past, those things are no longer there as a result of desertification. And the lecture too is shrinking. And the money that are meant for restitution in lecture, in reforestation, in order to stem the harmful effects of desertification, they have embezzled all this money. They are not investing it. And people are forced to begin to move their cow from one place to another. And in the process, they graze on people's land. The another second angle to that is this, sir. It is cheaper to graze animal openly than putting them in a place in form of a ranch to begin to feed them exclusively. The billionaire politicians and businessmen that dominated this cattle business, mind you, sir, majority of the Hausa Fulani people you see that carry stick, grazing cattle, they are not the owner of those cattle. So most of those cattle are owned by people across the country, across tribe. It's not about Fulani alone. To have people from the east, from the south, from the central who own those cows. It is those elements who arm all these boys and ensure that they graze people's land and things like that. And that is why we are having all this crisis. And again, The issue of ranch now, nobody's talking about it. And that's why the Food and Farmers' Rights Campaign, we're advocating that there is a need for government to build ranches. Then you can now be giving it out for a fee to the big billionaire cattle farmers. While for the ordinary cattle farmers that had 1 or 2, 3 heads, you can vamp, the farm settlement, I bring them in with provision of amenity, schools, healthcare, veterinary services. You put everything in place and run it in a way that these people will have a sense of belonging, so that they will be liberated and get civilized from their barbarism of moving from cattle from one place to another as nomadic. They should be settled. And it has been stated that those cattle that goes about, the output is always very low in terms of milk production. As we speak today, sir, Nigeria is deficit in milk production. We are not producing enough milk for us to satisfy our population. And yet, we are one of the best in Africa that has millions of cattle, billions of heads of cattle. And yet, milk is a problem. Hide and ski, what is known as pomo, is also another level to it. Nigeria is one of the best. Nigeria hide and ski is one of the best in the world. At the peak of Nigeria hide and ski industry, over 80 industries were established in Nigeria, and they have branches in Spain and in Italy to process hide and ski. Today, those things are no longer there. We import leather finished leather in form of shoe, belt from abroad. If all those areas are properly harnessed, you can be sure that employment will become a thing of the past. If not a thing of the past, it will be tremendously reduced. And all this issue of banditry, issue of kidnapping, issue of terrorism would have been half solved. But with this our leadership, this crop of leadership, will they do it? They will not, because they profit by the system as it is presently. And that is why we are saying it should not be allowed to continue.
We would go on and on this particular matter, especially with our main conversation, and which I would still love you to speak some more on some of them, because of course it interconnects, it intertwines, together, and that is when we return. U.S. Congress opens full-scale investigation into alleged Christian persecution and rising violence in Nigeria. In a bit, still Enterprise morning. Don't go anywhere.